Hi everyone, this is James and I am back with the follow-up to the previous installment of this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. If you remember, this was the 9-card box layout I used with my deck, the Mitchell Fortune Telling Oracle. This was for the reading for the week ahead starting on Labor Day, September the 1st, 2025. And in that one, I left off with saying that I was going to be pulling a card for the Thief card. If you remember, the Thief card is a cause and effect card. And the effect was the path card, but we did not have a cause card. And I said at the end of that video, I would pull a cause card, and then I would go about doing the line of 5 extraction. So let's jump right into it. As you can see here, I have the remainder of the deck on the table, so I'm going to go ahead and start off by shuffling the deck and pulling a card for the cause card of the Thief card. Alright, and now as you can see, I have the card next to the Thief card. So one of the things that I remember saying in the previous video was that Thief, being a card of loss, affected or has an effect on path. So one of the things that I said was about a loss, that the effect was going to be a sense of a loss of direction, a sense of not knowing where to go from here, meaning this sense of loss, right? It affects our sense of direction, right? So now, if this is the effect, let's see what the cause is. And so here we have the lightning card. So the lightning card, first and foremost, is a movement card. And the way that I designed it is that the movement goes from down. It's similar to the gift card in the deck. And so here would be the cause, and here might be the effect or the movement. The way I designed the card is that lightning can mean a shock or a surprise. Now this is very interesting, right? So it could be a shock or surprise or some kind of disruption. That's the lightning card for me can represent disruption. Is the cause behind the sense of loss, right? So there's a shock or a surprise or a sense of disruption that leads into the loss, that leads into, having a sense of not knowing where to go from there, right? Or if we go with the idea that the Thief can represent a takeaway, then a shock or a surprise, some kind of disruption, happens, and the takeaway from that is it either affects the path that we're on, and I'm thinking that in terms of like a reset, right? It sets us off on a new path, or the path that we were on somehow gets altered. That kind of thing. But this card in and of itself can represent a shock, a surprise, something that comes out of the blue without warning. But it can also represent a flash of insight. But for me, when I designed the card, I went with the idea of I wanted a card to represent a shock or surprise or some kind of disruption. And I just noted something. Here, if we go looking at lightning and path, here we have a storm, right? And the sky opening up for the lightning to come down. Which is why I went with the movement being here and here. The movement going this way. Here we have a stormy period, and then here we have the rainbow. Remember, and I talked about in the previous video that the rainbow can represent weathering a storm, right? So it's almost akin like being in the dark and then being in the light. And I did say that this could represent clearing the air, right? The clouds. And notice that both have the element air heavy in the image. So again, this could be something affecting our mind, our mindset, our way of thinking, our mental atmosphere. But that's how I read it, a shock or surprise or some kind of disruption. is the cause behind the sense of loss and has an effect on our sense of direction. And the other thing I will say is that the path can represent something that has, a long way to go in terms of time. If it's a timing card, then this would be somewhere down the road. So you might not notice the implication right away or immediately, or it's something that's going to have long-term ramifications, potentially. Alright, so I could evolve the story here more, but the focus of this video is to do the line of 5 extraction. So I'm going to now remove the lightning card and proceed with that. And so the way that the line of 5 extraction works, if you're here for the first time, we start with the middle card. This for me would be card 5, but depending on how you lay out a 9 card box, it might be a different numbered card. But you start with the focus card. So this gets extracted, and then we count 2. 1, 2. Then thoughts is going to be the second card. Then we count 2 again. 1, 2. Law becomes the third card. Count 2 again. 1, 2. Path becomes the fourth card. And then 1, 2. Adversity is the fifth card. So now we're going to go ahead and take the remainder of the cards up. We no longer need them for this technique. Okay, and so now we're going to lay out the cards in the order that they were extracted. Alright, and we have our line of 5. So we have tree, thoughts, law, path, and adversity. And so when you do your line of 5 of extraction, I always say this part, you want to remember the material that you gleaned from the cards prior to doing the line of 5 extraction, because that material will still be relevant on some level, right? But here we have a new focal card, right? Instead of tree is now the trigger card or the origin card, and we have a new focal card if you read from the hinge card out, which is what I do. So the law card, again, if you remember, is about a sense of justice. It's about doing the right thing. It could be about one's morals, one's ethics. In the video previously I talked about making a decision. So this could focus on, focal card, focus on an important decision. And with that, the scales would indicate a need to weigh the pros and the cons. Or as I've been thinking lately in terms of decisions I need to make, this makes sense to me. I need to do what I'm calling in my mind in regard to the decision that I'm weighing, right? This could be something that's weighing on you, the scales, fun for the scales. But the decision that is weighing on me is looking at it from a cost-benefit analysis, yes? So that's another way of looking at the pros and the cons, right? What's it going to cost you on the one side, and what's the benefit on the other side of the scale? But this could be about, weighing the pros and the cons and doing that to make the best possible decision, right? The law card for me can suggest, being rational, analytical, logical in your way of making the decision. Right, and now if we go out, then the card thoughts next to law makes perfect sense, because this is the card that talks about your thinking, your mindset. It could be about giving thought and consideration to the situation or to the decision. In order of the cards, needing to do some analysis, right? I use that word here, but some analysis, some research, in an effort to make the decision, right? Order of the cards again, right? So I love seeing this combination together because it makes perfect sense. And then going on the other side, going out this way, then we have the decision that precipitates the path or the sense of direction. Right? And again, there may be something about the ramifications down the road. right? Again, remember that I talked earlier about path can represent something that's down the road. And then here, if we mirror the cards, we have thoughts and path. Again, this idea about research, analysis, or giving some thought and consideration to our path, our sense of direction. And thoughts is also about planning for the future. That makes sense, mirroring path. If path is something that's going to take place down the road, right? So the decision, while it may need to be made this week, remember the context is that the reading is for the week ahead. While the decision might be needing to be made this week, it may have some long-term ramifications down the road in the future. Now here, tree being the first card in the line, this could be planting seeds for the future. Again, going with the idea that the tree card can represent growth and development over a period of time. But this could be asking, like, what is the situation rooted in, right? And I was very intentional with the image of the tree. I wanted the image of the tree to have deep roots, but I wanted them to be exposed. Yeah? So now if I go with the idea of what I said about law in the previous video, then this could be about righting a wrong or something having to do with a legal matter. Then if I go with that as the idea behind the law card, then this would be something that has grown and developed over a long period of time, right? You know, something that has deep roots to it. Right? But it may be something of a legal nature now. But in the past, you know, it's got like a sense of history to it. Right? It took a long time to get to this place in terms of the legal ramifications, right? And even with that, then there still may be some research, some analysis, some thought and consideration going into the situation, maybe about the morals and the ethics of it, and it will still have long-term ramifications. And simply, it could just be like, if this is about a legal matter, it could just be in a state where it's now growing and developing. It's extending out, branching out, and maybe affecting more people. Right, but this could also be about healing. I talked about that too. Tree is a health and healing card. So there may be some decisions that need to be made regarding healing. That's health and well-being, right? And then needing to do either some research, some analysis, reading up on something, looking into something. And then that leads to a decision. So for some people, there may be a decision needing to be made regarding their physical well-being. Now, if this is also about spirituality, because the tree card can represent spiritual growth and development, again, the same thing would apply here. Maybe if there's a change in direction or something that's going to affect our sense of direction. Again, order of the cards, a decision is going to be made that may have some effect on that. And again, the sense of research, study. If I make this relative to me, the thoughts card can represent card readers. And I am a card reader, right? Proof is in this video right now. And so maybe for the path that I am on, in terms of card reading, there may be a decision that I'm making regarding that, or wanting to do what's in the best interest of myself, being a reader, and the audience that I serve. Or that my path as a reader is going to be twofold, right? Both sides of the scale. So that's what I'm seeing with this in terms of possibly people who are readers or spiritual practitioners with the tree, right? Now, another possibility is that somebody is doing research on their own genealogy, right? The tree can be a pun, a visual pun for family tree. And so that may require some research, some analysis, some study. And then maybe getting to a place where an important decision is going to be made regarding one's sense of genealogy, right? And it puts you on a path. Maybe on a path of discovery, or setting you on a path to connect with extended family, right? The branches on the tree can represent extended family. And if that's the case, the decision may not just involve you, but other people connected to you. Okay, and so now we've touched on all these cards, and now let's talk about the outcome card here. In this line, we have adversity as the outcome. So the first thing for me is that the adversity card can represent facing some challenge, right? It can represent a challenge, a block, an obstacle. It could also represent some form of limitation and restriction that's symbolized by the wall. So like I said in the previous video, this card can represent hitting a wall, metaphorically, right? Or a situation in which you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. This is also a card that can talk about stress. And so if we mirror the cards, tree and adversity, healing, right? Remember, this is about healing and well-being. How are we managing our stress, right? So it could be that we need to make decisions that's going to reduce our stress. Because let's be honest, right? Every situation that we experience in life has some level of stress attached to it. It just may be different levels or varying degrees on the scale or the spectrum of stressors, yes. But for some people, it may be, a wake-up call. I'm remembering lightning, right? A wake-up call to manage your stress more effectively, right? And then for me, in the literal sense, I've shared this, so I'll share it here again. The adversity card for me is a card that can represent headaches. As a person who experiences headaches and migraines, this is my card for that. Right? You figure the idea about having your head up against the wall, the pain that might induce, right? So it could be, working on some healing treatments for things having to do with headaches in particular, or migraines in particular, or just head pain or trauma, right? Very interesting that we have the thoughts card and then we have the adversity card with the close-up of a man's head. This could represent anything involving the head, right? And then what just struck me is like this card can be a pun for the expression that came to mind is what's ahead, right? So it could just be like the path that one chooses to move down or walk on. There will be some challenges within it. And so you just need to prepare yourself. How are you going to meet those challenges when they appear? This card might suggest meeting them head on. Get it? Pun for the head on, right? And I'm looking at the image. So maybe, not turning a blind eye or having your eyes closed metaphorically. Like be willing to see what the limitations and restrictions or the blocks are, right? You know, I'm getting like be willing to open your eyes here. Right. So that's what I would see with the cards, and I'm going to end it here. So once again, this is James and Mitchell, and I've conducted the line of 5 extraction for the previous video reading, which was a 9-card box for the week ahead. So if you made it to this point in the video with me, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time. I always appreciate that, and I never take it lightly. And as I wrap up, I hope that you are enjoying the week to the best of your ability, depending on the circumstances that you are moving through, especially if they are stressful. And I will see you in the next video. So until then, take care and be well, tree.